In the year 1997, the future is in chaos and turmoil. Mankind is on the brink of extinction. Brave survivors band together and build a time displacement apparatus to receive a signal from a parallel future. This transmission is the Vundacast.
There's one team that kicks ass. They're assembled. They're the Vundacast. Never back down from the brass. Always start first. Never finish last. Had a mic steam. Bit too fast. Oh no, they're out of gas. It's okay there. Just a podcast. They're the greatest. We're the Vundacast.
Wild thing, you make my heart sing. You make everything groovy.
Welcome to the Vundacast. I am your host, Steven,
Wild thing, I think I love you.
and with me today,
I know for sure.
the non-binary champion of the world, the podcast champion of the world, two-belt D-Rock. Did we find a third belt? Oh, trivia champion of the world.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Charles is trivia champion. D-Rock in the house. And this is another episode of the Vundacast and our continuing coverage of All Elite Wrestling. This is a special episode of AEW Dynamite and now of the Vundacast.
It was actually like a normal episode, but it was so good that we think of it like it was one of the best episodes I think they've ever done.
It was a solid night of wrestling television, and we're gonna talk about it right freaking now. The show started with John Moxley in the back with headphones on, getting psyched up, with Eddie Kingston behind him, in a very UFC kind of pre-fight moment. And then I think they cut to Yuji Nagata also stretching and getting ready for this bout.
Yeah, like they had like the little split screen of them too. That was the cold open of the show. They just had that little shot of both of them, and then went straight to the VTR, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we have the AEW intro theme song, which is done by Mikey Ruckus. I learned this week. It was actually interesting. I listened to AEW Unrestricted, as I do sometimes, and they had Mikey Ruckus, who was responsible for all of the entrance music on Dynamite when Tony Khan doesn't pay money for entrance music.
Which is becoming less and less now.
Yeah. But he basically got the job when they were doing Double or Nothing. They needed some more entrance music, and he had several people who were putting his name forward as somebody who could do music. And they asked him like how much for like 15 songs. And he was like, how about you guys hire me forever?
Nice.
And they took him up on that deal, and he first created Nyla Rose's intro music, and he's responsible for all of the original All Elite Wrestling intro music that you hear. That's not Judas.
Good stuff.
So I thought that was an interesting perspective. And also, he also promoted that like any intro music that doesn't get used is going to the All Elite Wrestling video game. So if you have like, if you're going to create your own player and stuff, they're going to have like unique songs for their create a player wrestlers that you can choose.
Nice.
And those are literally just like leftover theme songs.
Right. That's cool.
So, I thought that was pretty exciting. And it's awesome to think that there's somebody behind the scenes of AEW who has to do music production like extremely quickly. Like he says that he'll turn over a song in like 24 hours.
Damn, that's pretty impressive.
So that's pretty neat. And I find it interesting that the week that they feature him on AEW Unrestricted, they open up with a Wild Thing.
Here's not your work.
Yeah.
But we got the Trogs on AEW Dynamite, a 55-year-old original version of the song Wild Thing, which is actually older than Yuji Nagata, amazingly enough. Yuji Nagata, 53 years old. This song is from 1966, making it 55 years old.
So I found so I was listening to different podcasts talk about this. So the use of Wild Thing is a reference to Atsushi Onita, who would come in to Wild Thing, but he would come into the Joan Jett version of Wild Thing.
Ooh, nice.
And that was like his intro music that they would use. So seemingly, and that itself was an homage to the Major League movies and to the pitcher coming into Wild Thing, which was also the Joan Jett version.
Right.
So it's just interesting that they were like, no, we're not going to pay for the Joan Jett version. We're getting the original version.
I love the original Trogs version. If anybody, a little plug here for the Trogs. They have an album. The album that this song is from is called From Nowhere. You can get it on YouTube, and it's really good. It's like, it was way ahead of its time when it came out in 1966, and it's really cool, like proto-punk, garage stuff. Check it out.
Supposedly, John Voight's brother wrote the lyrics.
Really?
Is the rumor I heard, yes.
Interesting.
Which is very random.
We should talk about wrestling.
No, this is John Voight's brother's podcast. What are you talking about?
It's not John Voight's brothers wrestling. All elite.
So we had for the second time ever on Dynamite, we had a New Japan wrestling talent on our screens.
Yeah, and Kenta is not like a New Japan original either, like Yuji Nagata is. I think he started out in All Japan maybe, and didn't come to New Japan until very recently, after he had been in the States for a while and was in WWE for a little bit. Didn't really get to do much, which is a shame because Kenta's one of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet. But super cool. Yuji Nagata is a New Japan legend. Blue Justice, he's kind of famous for those kicks that we got to see that are still clearly, he's still got it. He moves a little slow, which is to be expected for a 53-year-old man. But he still looks like a badass. You see, like that great face that he made when he caught Moxley in that hold. This is a lot of fun. There's so much, of course, like tons of dumb honor striking, which is always fun in New Japan style matches, the strong style. If you go back and look in the match, you can see, because they kind of, when they do those forearms to the face, they usually they hit each other on like the neck right under the ear, and by the end of the match, both guys bright red under their left ears, which is pretty gnarly and really cool. Also in this match, we got a Ren Narita sighting, which I was very excited about. I followed the Young Lions Cup when he and it's too bad Shooter couldn't be there. Shota Umino. I think he's on excursion right now, but they had a whole like feud, and Shooter was kind of started not latching on, but he had a whole thing with Moxley, where Moxley was kind of, he was kind of under his wing, under his tutelage a little bit. And he and Ren Narita were kind of the two biggies. There was a bunch of other guys, but they were the kind of the two guys that everybody felt like, and they got a lot of chances to wrestle each other before the Young Lions Cup too. So they had a whole thing even before the Young Lions Cup started. But very cool to see Ren Narita on American cable television, as it is to see Yuji Nagata on American cable television.
I thought it was a pretty good match. I kind of expected it to open Dynamite for some reason. So I'm happy to feel right in booking that. Obviously, you see this is a different style of match from what Moxley usually gives, which is a welcome sight to see him not just being extreme, but being a little more fighterly and into holds and going for chokes and playing a different type of game for a different type of opponent. So I like that part of it. I was hoping that it was gonna tease some sort of bigger New Japan story or something. So I didn't really, usually every AEW match has some sort of afterbirth of something else that's going to kick off the next storyline or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember this ending with, setting up a new storyline in any way.
No, yeah, I don't know if they were quite ready to like blow the forbidden door open in that way. But we did get a really cool post-match moment where they kind of bowed to each other. It was kind of the ultimate show of respect, and the Yuji raised Mox's hand, and it was really cool. It was a very New Japan moment. It's so built on, honor and respect. In theory, of course, they have people that subvert that too, of course, because that's good storytelling. But
yeah,
really cool moment after the match where they pay respect to each other.
It was good. It was a good way to start the show.
It was a really, really fun match. It was hard hitting. It was everything you kind of expected it would be. And of course, it's weird to say that I definitely didn't expect Moxley to lose this match, because they've kind of created that now. Like, when he defended against Kenta, I think a lot of people kind of expected Kenta to win, to take the US title back to New Japan. But it seems like they've kind of established that they want Mox to kind of carry this title in AEW and like let it be a real sort of United States title, which is pretty cool. So now he's had that title for a while, and it seems like he's gonna have it for a while. And I think when he does drop it, it will actually be a surprise, which is kind of great.
Yeah, I like this use of the IWGP US title, and I hope they keep on using it. I was especially excited during this match that they brought up that Lance Archer once held this belt.
Right.
So I feel like that really helped elevate Lance Archer, at least in my mind, in the AEW talent, as somebody on a slightly higher level.
Yeah, and I would love to see. I think it would be really cool to see somebody in AEW challenge for the IWGP US title. Archer could do, or Kenny Omega was the first US champion, and he's already in a feud with Moxley right now. I think it'd be really cool to see them go to war over that belt, and maybe Kenny could collect another belt. That would be kind of interesting.
It's on the table.
I think so. I think it'd be really cool.
What did we have next?
Next up was Alex Marvez interviewing the Inner Circle backstage. Inner Circle looks to be, shorthanded, but not backing down. They gave a nice fiery promo where they were, like, we're still coming for you.
So they were it was I believe Ortiz, Hager, and Sammy.
Yeah.
Now
No, wait, was it Ortiz or was it Santana?
I think it was Ortiz.
I thought it was Ortiz that got, maybe it was Santana that got arrested. I thought Santana was the weird one and Ortiz was.
You're right.
No,
I think you're right.
I can't. I get so confused. I'm sorry. This is not racist. I just can't. It's the same problem I had with Dash and Dawson when they were the Revival. But I'm pretty sure Ortiz was the one that got arrested. Yeah, going to their Wikipedia page is not help because it's both of them.
It'll say this here is Santana.
Wait, did they? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Okay, we're doing our research on the fly because we are not.
No, I just want one of them at a time.
We're not good at our job. No,
This is Santana.
that's Santana.
So I'm correct. Santana is missing.
Santana was there.
No, Ortiz was there.
Was arrested. Santana was arrested for using.
Okay. Chris Jericho on Talk is Jericho did a breakdown of Blood and Guts. And in it, he revealed that, unfortunately, Santana was not actually arrested. Thank God.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But when he took that bump and he fell in between the cage and the ring in Blood and Guts and got sucked down there, that he messed up his back. And he was limping, leaving Blood and Guts. And so his back is really messed up. So he's recuperating.
Yeah, we were talking about it on our last podcast. That looked really dangerous having it, because usually, like, when WWE does stuff like this, the cage like rests on the apron, and it's kind of rooted there. They had the cage all the way to the floor, and so there was this like very small space in between the cage and the apron, and it looked really precarious for people who had to like do those, flying into the cage bumps. When someone throws somebody into the cage, they go and then they drop down, straight down. And it seemed dangerous. And I guess it was, because clearly somebody was at least somewhat hurt by that.
Yeah. So I was happy to see that Jericho wasn't there. I thought surely he's going to at least miss one episode of Dynamite after getting thrown off of a cage.
Yeah.
So let's hold our breath.
Right.
What was next?
But I just love the fact that in the storyline, MJF had Santana arrested for using the fork. That's such a great MJF smarmy heel move. I love that. Next was Cody's promo. So this was, I don't know.
Let's take a little peek here at the YouTube clip. They have
hear it again.
A piece of it. Maybe it'll resonate more today in our political climate.
I don't think so.
Has run down and verbally buried the United States, and he's done it with such vitriol in his tone. He's talked about the anger, the argument, the division, and the irony is that Anthony has a visa.
This is the thing I don't get, is I don't remember Anthony Ogogo ever talking about anything
Yeah,
on AEW television.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I've literally never heard him run down the United States. I don't know what Cody's talking about. Maybe Cody was like watching Dark or something and I didn't see it, but I've never heard this.
But at least you could have given me a package before this promo,
Right.
right? Showing, okay, the disgrace of the flag. Show me whatever promo he did on Elevation or Dark, if that occurred. Give me a sense of why Cody is going to talk all this crap right now.
Right.
And that didn't happen.
Yeah. It just, it was very, it is what it is. It's very like 1980s wrestling sort of cringy ass nationalism that, still tends to pop crowds, even in AEW, I guess, although there wasn't really a crowd as such, so much as there was, a bunch of people that work for AEW getting a USA chant started.
No, they had probably 800 to 1,000 people, I think. But it's not a full arena. It's not.
Yeah, we didn't get I don't feel like we got a true crowd reaction. I feel like when they do this in front of full crowds, we'll get to see a little bit better.
Oh, and
how people are going to react to this, because AEW fans are a little bit different. They're not so different, but they're a little bit different. So I feel like they're more likely to reject this weird jingoistic thing, 80s thing that they're doing.
Now's probably a good time to mention that we're going to be in attendance July 7th.
Yes, we are.
When AEW comes to Miami
at the James L. Knight Center.
For an episode of AEW Dynamite, our second Dynamite.
Our second, yeah, right. Our first one was right before the pandemic.
Yeah, the Bash at the Beach, and now this edition.
And we are both vaccinated, fully vaccinated, just for everybody, we're not taking any insane risks by doing this. And I imagine we will both be wearing masks anyway.
Yeah, I got my Dark Order mask, got my Kenny Omega mask, I'm ready.
Yeah, I got my Darby Allin mask that Steven so generously got me for my birthday. I'll be decked out in that, and my Exploding Barbed Wire Deathmatch shirt that Steven also got me for my birthday because he's the best friend ever.
So we'll see if America's still getting tread on then.
Right.
Cody, what else?
The only thing about this promo, in the second half of it, when he started talking about his kid and he started talking about his dad and wanting to wrestle this match as the American Dream Cody Rhodes, that pulled me in. As bad as the first half of that promo was and as cringy as it was, when he got to that stuff, I was like, wow, I don't know how he did it, but he fucking saved that shit. And, that's how you do that. So I can't really complain too much about it.
Tired and weak, we'll make him strong. Sing us your far off song and we will sing along. Well, here's where I stopped singing. I stopped singing when you balled up that Olympic medalist fist and you put it between these ribs here. You like to educate. You like to pontificate on what the U.S. is. Allow me to turn the favor. The industry that you joined, it was an Italian immigrant who was world champion for 4,040 days. There's so much to behold here.
But what I don't get is why Cody is painting Anthony Ogogo as though he's some sort of xenophobe.
Right. Yeah. It's
I
don't know.
It's just a strange line. And
also when usually when one of these sort of nationalistic USA versus somebody else storylines is done, it's not USA versus Britain. No one hates Britain enough for this to work, I think. It's usually Russia or, in the 90s it was Iraq or whoever we were going to war with at the time or whatever. I mean, the UK is like about as close an ally in the world as the US has right now. I really don't fully understand why this particular like inter-country feud is what they're going with for this thing.
I would get it if I heard a promo, I think, from Anthony Ogogo and had some actual footing for with which this to stand upon.
Right.
Okay.
And in 2021, in the very same city, my wife will give birth to a beautiful white, a beautiful black American princess who will have both identities, shun neither, and I want her to know. I want her to know I didn't just lay down under another man's flag. I didn't just have this defeatist attitude when somebody ran down the United States. I got up off my ass and I fought back. And here's where we're going to do the fighting. At Double or Nothing. Tony Khan has already told the world that at Double or Nothing, we're going back to full capacity. Wrestling fans returning to their seats and returning close up, thank God. And on that night, it'll be Anthony Ogogo versus myself, but he will not be wrestling the American Nightmare. Because for one night, I'm gonna pick up a sword that is all too heavy, but it's either me or my brother who have the right to pick it up. So for one night, Justin Roberts, this relates to you. Nothing on presentation's sake will be different. It comes from deep inside. As I said, at Double or Nothing, it will be Anthony Ogogo versus the American Dream, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, I got chills when you said that. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, it's cute. I don't know. I am not sold on this match. If they make it a dumb stipulation match and it's like a last flag standing match.
Well, they've had flag matches. That's a thing. So that could be a thing. But yeah, I mean, I just knowing like how much Cody's dad means to him and how much the legacy means to him, and for him to take on that moniker only for one night, because I feel like anything else would be jumping the shark a little bit. It'll be a little bit beyond the pale to take it on permanently, but for one night to take on the moniker feels like a really cool thing, even though a lot of the rest of this is kind of weird and jumbled and doesn't entirely make a whole lot of sense. But I definitely got sucked in when he went for the American Dream, Cody Rhodes. That was cool.
Yeah. And Cody's the only superstar who gets this privilege on the show of just getting 6 minutes of himself alone in the ring,
right,
with a microphone, without any other pomp or circumstance or other craziness happening.
I will say Cody, more than any of the other guys who are sort of in charge of all this, really uses his sort of clout in wrestling and in AEW for a good cause. He's always putting over younger guys, lesser known guys, and he's wrestling Anthony Ogogo, at Double or Nothing. And you have to think that Anthony Ogogo seems like the favorite to go over in this match, considering they're even doing this. And I give Cody a lot of respect for the way that he's booked himself in AEW to raise everybody else and not just put himself over the way some people do. Cough.
Young Bucks cough.
What's next?
What could possibly be next?
Actually, this match was amazing. Immediately this went into my top 10 matches of the year. The chemistry I'm talking about Young Bucks versus SCU, by the way, just to clarify everything. The chemistry was amazing. They executed everything perfectly and crisply, and the pacing was great. The drama was great. There were so many great false finishes and saves and stuff like that. I just thought it was just so good. And here's Steven now to nitpick it to death.
This is obviously a match that they've had a lot of times. This is not their first encounter in wrestling. Both teams have an extensive history with each other. I'm sure if I was somebody who had never seen these two people ever wrestle ever, if I was like a new 6-year-old, 10-year-old just watching TV for the first time and this is the match I see, I would be captivated and enthralled and super interested. But the outcome felt predictable, that it was being built towards, obviously this was the match that was going to break up SCU. Not to say that that's a bad story to tell. I think it was a good story to tell. I just think that they didn't give it the due that it was deserved. Let's take a look at some of these flips over here. I liked it's a good match. I just wouldn't give it the best match of the year, stamp that you were ready to throw on it. My biggest beef with the match is often what it is with the Young Bucks matches and with Rich Knox. It's the refereeing. It's that it doesn't really play out like a logical wrestling match.
I mean, yes, that's true. I think that's a valid criticism. I just feel I don't know, for whatever reason, I was fully and completely sucked into this match. You could tell that they have wrestled each other a lot. SCU came out looking amazing, as they often do. I love SCU. I think I don't always hate the Young Bucks in the ring. I think sometimes they can really kill it, and I feel like they did here. And just the chemistry was so good, and the way that the timing of some of those moves that they were doing, for timing each other and this thing and pulling it in, and there were so many things that one thing led to another thing led to another thing. And I love that stuff. To me, it didn't feel as contrived as so many Young Bucks matches with a lot of spots like this do. And I just felt like it, the drama pulled me in, the chemistry pulled me in, and I was hooked. I really, I lost myself in this match big time.
The one moment I thought was classic and was perfect was he starts bleeding on Matt's sneakers, and then Don Callis is like, oh my god, he's bleeding on these $1,000 sneakers. What a travesty! What a disgrace!
Right.
Can you believe this?
Yeah. Yeah, and also like I mean, the Young Bucks. I've been enjoying now that the Young Bucks have actually like picked an alignment and decided to be heels once and for all. Hopefully, I've been really enjoying their heel work as I often do. And like they wrestle really well as heels too. Like they wrestle in a way that while still being impressive also makes you hate them, and that's kind of a difficult thing to do. And also, the horrible, slimy, disgusting moment of making fun of HBK's "I'm sorry, I love you" super kick on Ric Flair that ended his career was, a lot of people like legit hated it because they felt it was so disrespectful. And it's like, that's the whole point. Like, that's why they did it, was to piss you off. And I think it was incredibly effective. Also, the moment when they used the cold spray and Don Callis goes, he's trying to stop the bleeding, was so great. And also that was another great false finish because like they used the cold spray, you thought, oh, that's got to be it. They're gonna cheat to win this match, and they still kicked out. And it took another. I forget how exactly the finish went, but they did another really underhanded thing to win the match. And yeah, I just thought it was, I liked it a lot. I think it's probably going to be in my top 10 when the year is up.
Let's hear the bloody shoes line.
Yeah.
He's very, very weak, obviously. They should stop this. Look at this. This is awful. This is just awful. He's bleeding all over those beautiful shoes.
What kind of sociopath are you, Don? Come on, bleeding all over those shoes.
You say sociopath like it's a bad thing. You've called the Bucks that. They've had nothing but success.
You can buy new ones.
They've had nothing but success. They're successiopaths. Yes.
Yeah. I think my only real complaint about any of this is that they really didn't give SCU their like breakup moment, which the fact that they didn't do that really kind of makes me think that they must be holding off on doing something else with it, because if not, it's a huge disrespect to like two of the legends in the wrestling business. But they just kind of cut straight to Moxley and Kingston go and trash the Elite's dressing room, which initially was confusing. And then I think it was Excalibur that said, they're clearly disgusted by what they just witnessed, which I think was a really good way of tying it together to people who are like, why are we cutting to this? So that, and like the fact that they're already in this feud with them and kind of, tied it in to whatever story that they're telling going forward between those guys was well done. But I still want to see something done with SCU's breakup other than like coming back from commercial and, this is what you missed during the commercial. They hugged. Isn't that sweet? So we'll see.
I thought it was a failed opportunity to not let us sit with the emotion of them being broken up.
Yeah.
All it needed was 30 more seconds before going to commercial to let it play out. And I think that was a missed opportunity by AEW that is not going to be as easy to course correct in the future.
Right.
It's not going to feel as organic.
Yeah, like even if they do something next week, unless we'll see what they do. It might work, but it would be difficult to recapture like the energy that's there right after they've lost the match and have been forced to break up. And like, you know, that, like you said, that 30 seconds of just letting the camera sit on them and watching their faces and the emotions that come out because of what just happened, I do think was, even if they do something with it in the future, next week, hopefully, I still think that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. What was next on the card?
Next up, we have a Christian Cage promo, which I thought was fine. That's my thing about Christian's promos in AEW. Like, I feel like they're, you know, they're fine. They're just, you know, they feel like very cookie cutter Christian Cage promos. And, you know, it's a good cookie, but it's the same every time. And I kind of, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, you know, maybe I'm just like expecting too much, but you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have any complaints about it. It's just not like moving me.
So if my memory serves me, Christian sort of set up a little path for himself to get to the AEW championship in this promo. And position that at Double or Nothing that he was gonna win the Battle Royale, Casino Royale, whatever they're calling it.
Right.
And he wants to get the title opportunity. So I like that they're finding a way to push him to the top of the card and get him into the picture. I like it that they're going to put him in a position to work with a lot of their underneath talent. So I think it's a win-win. However, he's booked in that match, whether he wins it or not, because it can lead to him having more storylines with more AEW characters. So right. I'm excited.
I don't know if I feel like it's the right time for them to have him win the match. I mean, it feels like he just got here. He's had maybe 2 or 3 matches so far on Dynamite. I feel like he needs a little bit more time to sort of develop a character and, you know, make a mark in AEW before he's going to be pushed into the title picture. I do think, though, that whether he wins or not, he should be portrayed as like he's going to win, but then something messed up happens, you know? I think that's kind of the best road ahead for him in this match would be he's about to win the match. He should have won the match, but something else happens that starts him off into a feud with somebody else maybe that could go a long way towards making his mark a little bit more in AEW.
Yeah. So that sounds good. What we got next?
Just the fact that they've started talking about the Battle Royales also, you know, the Battle Royale is a lot of fun. Even though we have some issues with the way they format it with the 4 groups and like not really giving anybody entrances and stuff like that. So we'll see. It'd be interesting to see if he's the wild card because there's always like 4 groups and then that one person who comes out. I think the first one, it was Adam Page was the wild card. And so it seems like that would be a sort of showcase spot for him to come in, especially if they're portraying him as sort of the favorite, which at this point, I don't know if he's being portrayed as the favorite necessarily. He's just being portrayed as the only guy that we've said has a chance to win so far, or the only guy that's really declared that he's in it so far. It seems like. I don't remember anybody else saying that. So
no, I don't think so. So what was next?
Next up is Orange Cassidy versus Pac, which is a fucking awesome match. Every match on this card was so fucking good. Was like very much like any of these matches could have headlined another Dynamite if we didn't have what we had on this card. And this match was great. It actually had to be cut short a little bit, unfortunately. There was that. Yes, there it is. The gnarly Liger bomb that Pac executed on Orange Cassidy. That actually, supposedly he's okay, but the landing was really nasty, and they had to actually call an audible in this match. The original finish was supposed to be that they knocked each other out and both got counted 10 after like a longer match, and they had to actually call out like Don Callis and Kenny Omega to expedite that finish a little bit more, which is a shame because the match was excellent. I really enjoyed it. OC came to fight, which is what we kind of talked about on our last podcast. So that's kind of what we wanted to see from him. We wanted this to be one of those moments where he kind of, drops the calm and we see some of that fire from him. And that was great. Both guys got moments to shine, and the end result was a triple threat between Omega, Orange Cassidy, and Pac, which who could possibly complain about that, especially after what we saw in this match?
Yeah, it was definitely a very different Orange Cassidy, and yet the same Orange Cassidy that we're used to. I like how the glasses spot that he did to start, where he gives his glasses to Pac, and then Pac crumbles them up, and then after an exchange and Orange gets the upper hand, Orange reveals that he had a backup pair of glasses
yes,
in his pocket to put on, and that he's still cool. So that was pretty awesome. And up until Orange getting dumped on his neck, the match was really, really solid, really good. I had no idea that this was an audible they had to call to achieve the same finish they were going to.
Right.
Does it up the stakes at Double or Nothing to have your first three-way championship match?
In a way it does. I mean, the sort of one of the premises of the triple threat match for where a title is on the line is that the champion has a much less of an advantage, almost a disadvantage in a way, because I'm pretty sure that they have the same rules that everybody else does, where if the champion doesn't have to get pinned to lose the title, basically. So that makes it tough on Kenny. And also just the fact that we get all three of these guys in a match together, and that's, definitely going to be very entertaining in its own right, I think is also great.
So I hope that the announcers play that up, because at this moment, I don't feel like Kenny Omega's titles are in danger,
Yeah.
Especially since they're making him this belt collector now. I sort of felt like whoever faces him at Double or Nothing, this is just a perfunctory win to have.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not somebody who's holding a belt.
Right. I think, there's only so much you can do about that at this point in his title run. I think everybody pretty much knows. And when it's a situation like this where everybody knows, everybody can kind of guess the result of something, because any other result would be not great booking. Like, it wouldn't be good booking to have Kenny lose the title so soon after winning it. And especially in the middle of like him and the Elite are having this sort of run of reestablishing themselves as like the top heel group, or one of the top heel groups at least in AEW. And hopefully I'd love to see them and the Pinnacle battle it out for like the top heel group at some point. I think that would be pretty cool. But it wouldn't make a lot of sense for Kenny to lose this match. And, you know, they can only go so far to make any of us believe that there could possibly be any other result to this match. But they could go far enough, and there's a lot of things they could do to make us almost believe that there could be a surprise ending to this match. But ultimately, I think we all know that Kenny Omega is walking out of Double or Nothing with all of his titles intact.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, this was a fun moment on the show. And usually, at least the Kenny Omega as champion stuff has been hit or miss at moments, and this was a hit. So good for them.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, as much as they telegraphed Orange Cassidy winning this match, and he didn't. So that's also a win in my book, that they didn't actually telegraph the ending of the match. And also, this gives you the ability to hold off on what they seem to be planning at some point in the future, which is Orange Cassidy getting his one-on-one title shot that I imagine very well could ultimately end with him, you know, winning the title. Maybe he loses a couple matches to Kenny before winning the title that everybody seems to want him to have at this point. So I think it's kind of inevitable at this point that Orange Cassidy will be champion at some point. And this is a good way to, you know, hint at that in the future without giving it up, without blowing your wad on the Orange Cassidy Kenny Omega singles one-on-one match.
How do you possibly follow up the announcement for the main event of Double or Nothing being a three-way?
You follow it up with, well, I think there was an Elite promo where they were in, they went back to their dressing room after Mox and Kingston trashed it and set up a few matches.
So with Young Bucks garbage. Way to go.
We hate the Young Bucks on this show. No,
I'm just tired of, like, the Young Bucks are in the ring. Good. That's where they belong. I'm just tired of these, like, petty squabbles over dressing rooms and RVs and mobile homes. Like, why is this gang war? Like, I can't wait for them to start traveling and hitting different venues, because Daly's place is like the Sharks and the Jets. Everyone's got their territories divided up.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Yeah. Well, the one good thing that did come out of this promo mostly by Matt Jackson, I think, if I remember correctly, is that I believe they set up a tag title shot for Moxley and Kingston. And please, dear God, put the belts on these guys, because they have been so great together.
Yeah, I really hope that Mox and Kingston find a way to neutralize the Good Brothers, neutralize all of the different ways that the Young Bucks are going to cheat, and find a way to win the titles, because that would be very satisfying.
You have to think that they're going to need help, that, you know, probably for their first shot at the titles, they're going to lose due to all of that crap, and they're going to go it alone because that's who they are. And I think when they start doing, you know, when they start doing rematches, I think they'll realize we need some backup. And I think it'll be interesting if that's where they go with it, to see who they get to back them up. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and a lot of possibilities that could also, kind of set up a future feud between whoever they get and the Elite, which could be a really good way to kind of, set up your long-term storytelling while doing short-term stuff as well. So that should be interesting to see how they approach all that.
Well, the best friends and Death Triangle now both have an interest in bringing down the Elite, as they're both, now facing Kenny Omega. So maybe Mox and Kingston can get some help from either one of those factions.
That is true. I mean, there's so many factions that, you could invent any number of reasons for any of the factions in AEW to need to beef with the Elite.
Yeah.
So.
Matt was trying to get some cheap heat by picking on Brian Pillman Jr., who was featured on Dark Side of the Ring, and they set up that the Varsity Blondes are going to get their first title shot next week on AEW Dynamite. So that should be exciting.
That's another one of those matches that you like. You're not gonna. It's the result is pretty obvious, and I don't really care that much because this is going to be a really good match. And sometimes just having a cool match, even when everybody knows how it's going to go, is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm looking forward to that. Next up, we have Hangman backstage with the Dark Order doing a little promo on Brian Cage, which I really enjoyed. I loved what Hangman did here, sort of using psychology on Cage. Like, oh, you need Team Taz behind you to win your matches, don't you? I guess that's cool if that's what you want to. He was very cool about it, and like using the sort of reverse psychology on him to convince him to leave Team Taz backstage to fight this match.
Yeah, it was such a bright spot on the show that it makes you wish that, they gave, if the Young Bucks get to be on, 3 times a night, like, can't we find a way to put Hangman twice a night? Like,
right.
Come on. He's
Yeah,
really good at this.
There's so many people that are so good at their jobs that deserve as much exposure as the Young Bucks, who, of course, are constantly putting themselves over. The thing that I was thinking about with this was, if Cage does come to the ring alone, if he loses, does that sort of weigh on his, this whole thing that they've been doing where he's kind of recently seeming like he might be breaking off from Team Taz? If he loses without them, does that weigh on his sort of, it's not at the point of a decision yet, but does that make him less interested in going on his own? And if he wins, does that push him further into breaking off from Team Taz? I feel like there's an angle there that if they're not doing that with this match, it would be kind of a missed opportunity to use this as a sort of springboard for his kind of breaking off from Team Taz storyline that seems to be percolating but not quite started yet.
Well, I'm worried that their plans might be changing because we know that Ricky Starks has a neck injury, so he's going to be out for a while. And at least to me, it seemed like they were building to Starks versus Cage.
Yeah.
So if that's what they were building towards, then they're going to have to definitely pivot because that's going to have to be a longer term story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like the fact that, without Ricky Starks, in the mix, can you really have Cage leave Team Taz now? Like, what's left? It's Will Hobbs and what's his name? Taz's kid.
Hook.
Hook, that's right.
Hook.
So yeah, they might have to call an audible with that. That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, let's see. We're gonna have to see how that plays out.
Also, the other thing that I love about this, one of my favorite things in AEW is John Silver being like low key in love with Adam Page. It's so entertaining and hilarious and adorable, and I love it so much.
Yeah, and he makes everyone laugh out loud when he's like, "That's the title of the pay-per-view. Did you do that on purpose?" Oh my God, you're so smart.
You're so smart. He's always saying stuff like that, like, "Oh my God, you're such a good wrestler." It's like, I love it.
I'm disappointed they didn't put that on YouTube. Come on, AEW.
I know, right?
Messing things up.
Okay, next up we have the Pinnacle celebrating their victory at Blood and Guts and being interrupted by a Inner Circle bubbly bath.
So I like the concept of this. I like Tully saying that he's got the 5 finest looking women in all of Jacksonville here to party with the Pinnacle. Let's take a look here, a little listen to MJF.
You refer to me as the greatest of all time. Don't boo, people. Bow. And don't just bow to me. Bow to the greatest group of men who ever existed. Bow to the Pinnacle. Hell, bow to the biggest draw professional wrestling's ever known. I don't know if you mouth-breathing pores have heard about this, but for the first time ever, we ranked #1 on cable.
You mouth-breathing pores.
Yeah, calling the crowd pores will never not work.
Last week, and you have us to thank for it. Hell, we even broke a record on TSN in Canada, and it's because we had a Canadian hero in our match last week. And his name was Sean Spears, baby. Zoom in on this man. Look at him. Look at him. Canadian God. I'm glad you got.
Now, I wonder if that's on purpose. Like, I like that he called him a Canadian god, but is that supposed to be a reference to Jericho calling Sammy a Spanish god?
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Is that the
obviously
joke?
He was swerving us on,
Canadian hero,
legend, of course.
Yeah.
But no, that's an interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
So I want to see if he keeps on, kind of spoofing the Inner Circle stuff in that way. I thought that was cool. Let's hear a bit of Tully on the mic.
I have been there many times in the past. And this group of guys right here.
And I just noticed on Tully's lapel of his shirt, on his jacket, that he has like a mountain in like rhinestones.
Nice.
On his jacket. That's pretty dope.
MJF with his crown on. We took everything the Inner Circle could dish out last week. Blood and guts, you watched this group of men take everything they had. And at the end, they're out there shaking their arms, going, no, no, don't throw Chris. No, we stop it, we submit. That's the end of the story. We quit. Ladies and gentlemen, when you quit, you stinking quit.
and you're at the top of the world. And that's where these guys are. The finest things. You deserve the finest things. You got 5 of the greatest looking women that this city has to offer right back here.
Let it be noted, there was 4 blondes and a brunette. A stunning array of diversity.
Yeah, amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a present right here that I spent thousands of dollars on.
Okay, so Tully gets them a nice watch so they can remember the time that Tully bought them a watch
Yeah.
for kicking ass. And then what's now becoming a staple of 2021 AEW, somebody starts honking a horn during a promo. Oh no, what could that mean?
It was interesting because I remember thinking, like, while they were talking the whole time, I heard the engine of the truck. I wasn't sure if it was just like a mix up in audio or something like that, but I heard that like ambient noise of the truck. And once it started honking, I was like, oh, there is a truck there, which is kind of cool.
And it wasn't a truck, it was a golf cart.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Look here. Sammy Guevara, Ortiz, and Hager.
You guys can't be serious. Hey, hey! Shut your mouths! Shut your mouth! Hey! Listen to me! I already told you guys we're not interested in you anymore. You're already down.
Oh man. So they showed Chris before they showed Chris.
Oh, I missed it.
They leaked him. Look,
Interested in you
he
anymore.
leaked into the shot, like peeking into the frame. You see?
Oh, yeah, there he is. There's no way I ever would have saw that.
He's peeking. He's peeking. So AEW production, come on, your angles, come on. So
Down to 3 members. I meant every word I said to my lawyer. Santana's detained. He's gone, and we all know we're never seeing Chris Jericho again. Drive off.
We all know we're never seeing Chris Jericho again, ever.
That's the cue.
Jericho's dead. Hey, Max! Hey, Max! Can you hear him cheering?
Oh, my God.
Now I wish he had at least like a neck brace on.
Right.
Like he's got his arm in some sort of medical device, but at least put on a neck brace. Like
I think it seems almost as if they're like sort of catering to everybody who was complaining about the crash pad by just like not even pretending that was a huge bump, and just, you know, like he's got a pretty heavy duty cast on his arm, but that's it. And you know, it makes sense from their standpoint of just like, let's just move on, not try to pretend that Chris Jericho like almost died or anything like that, and just go on with our lives. But yeah, it was a little, I would have liked to have seen at least like a neck brace. I think that would have been appropriate. But I feel like they thought people would just make fun of it if they did that. So
I also feel like Blood and Guts was supposed to be this big payoff to this feud, and now the feud's gonna keep going. You know, I wish that if I wish they had even like, you know, like teased for a moment, like now we're done with the Inner Circle. Now we can start coming for the titles. Like,
Right.
you know, at least tease it before you turn back to the Inner Circle right away.
Yeah. Yeah,
What?
I think that's fair. And also, like, you know, once they said Stadium Stampede, I didn't really care about anything anymore.
Also, it's strange that they're going to go from Blood and Guts, which was this very serious, very deadly match, to, if we're going by what Stadium Stampede was last year, it was a joke match.
Sort of. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of comedy in it, but it was also, you know, there was a lot of like pretty hardcore stuff in it. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of a cinematic match. It's, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for comedy spots. It's an interesting way to sort of up the ante while not really upping the ante in terms of, at least in terms of like violence and brutality. But you know, I'm not going to say no to a Stadium Stampede match. So
No, I'm down for the uniqueness of the match. I'm very interested into seeing how they're going to play it off. I think the fact that, you know, MJF and Sean Spears and Dax and Cash and Wardlow are in it this time, it should have a whole different color than how the Elite played it. So I'm excited about that. The Inner Circle lost the Stadium Stampede last time. So based on the stipulation that the Inner Circle has to break up at the end of the match if they lose, I think there's also a match where you kind of assume the Inner Circle is going to win.
yeah,
They're not going to break up the Inner Circle.
right.
And the Inner Circle already lost Stadium Stampede, so they're not going to lose it twice.
And they lost Blood and Guts. So like, you know, I feel like in that way, it almost kind of makes sense. Like, I feel like even if it wasn't a Stadium Stampede match, people would probably kind of assume that the Inner Circle was going to get their win back and there would go on to like a rubber match of sorts. So you could say that it kind of telegraphs the ending of the match to say Inner Circle will break up if they lose. But I think it works in the sense that the ending was a little bit telegraphed already, but this kind of like makes it pretty obvious, like the Inner Circle's not going to break up, you know?
And then they do what is very much an homage to two classic moments on Monday Night Raw.
Indeed, yes.
But instead of milk or beer, we have a little bit of the bubbly. Let's take a look at this.
So just let me get this straight. We're going to ask you again. Will you give us a rematch? Yes or no? Once again, Chris, my answer is no. So just to clarify, your answer is what? I said my answer is N-O, no! All right. Get him, Sammy. Let's go, boys. Go! Go!
That's more than a little bit of the bubbly. That's a lot of bit of the bubbly. Oh, God. In that pink suit. They are slipping and sliding all over the place. They can't even get to him. Oh, this may be one of the greatest things I've ever seen. The Inner Circle dousing the Pinnacle.
Jericho once again has outsmarted MJF. The Inner Circle again now have the upper hand, it would seem to me, over the Pinnacle.
And the Pinnacle absolutely.
Okay, so how does that play to you, Derek?
I loved it. It was so fucking dumb in the best possible way. You know, I'm not clear of what like JR said. Oh, Jericho outsmarted MJF again. Like, how exactly did they outsmart them by doing this? Doesn't really make sense to me, but it was fun, man. I liked it. It was I thought it was weird too that they were like they went through that whole thing about, so what's your answer? It's no. And I thought they were gonna do some kind of like play on words with no for like, I don't know why they emphasize that so much, just to have him go ahead and just shoot champagne at them. But it was super fun. You know, sometimes wrestling has to be super dumb in these ways, and it just brings people joy. I like it.
So I liked it watching it in the vacuum of the show. I thought it was a fun moment. I thought it was a little ham-fisted in that, you know, when we've seen this done before with Stone Cold and with Kurt Angle, like, they had a legitimate fire hose that they were standing ringside shooting at everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And in the AEW version, we have Sammy Guevara, who is 30 feet from the ring, shooting it from like a turret, which looked cool, but they're bumping like this thing is a high pressure hose, and it looks kind of just like it's like garden hose spraying them over the head.
It looks like one of those like carnival games where you try to shoot the water in the mouth of the clown and then it inflates the balloon.
Yes. So I wish that they had done it in like, and just legitimately ripped off of WWE, gotten a fire hose, like do it a direct lift.
One thing that was definitely missing from this was one of the Inner Circle drinking the champagne the way that Stone Cold did with the beer. Like, yeah. That's like the low-key best part of that whole segment, is that he's shooting them with the beer and then he like points the hose at his face for a second to drink the beer, which is so hilarious.
So it was a good moment. It's not often that you see AEW do like a direct homage to a very famous WWE moment. They usually try to harken back to something from Japan or from some older promotion.
Well, they do a lot of like nod, wink, wink stuff about WWE, but more not in an homage way, more in a like, oh, those, you know, like making fun of them kind of stuff. That, you know, people complain a lot about that, how much they reference WWE in like negative ways. And this is a cool homage, you know. I thought it was a fun spot.
Yeah, it was fun. I just wish they had, you know, maybe played out this story a little bit longer before going to the stipulation.
Right.
I would have happily have waited a week to see Chris Jericho return.
Yeah.
Let the Pinnacle, you know, have a night of success uninterrupted.
Right.
You know, for their actions. And then maybe even wait another week, maybe before the pay-per-view, to up the ante of the stipulation to the Inner Circle has to break up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that it's building and not just, you know, we built it all the way there.
Right. Yeah. Like add layers each week instead of just like, this is the thing. I mean, it makes sense from a you know, a business standpoint, right? Because they want to sell as many tickets to this show that they're running at full capacity as possible, you know, and which isn't necessarily a guarantee. Like I know on one hand, a lot of people are jonesing to get back into, you know, to the stands and to sold out crowds. But I think there's also might be a lot of people who are kind of hesitant to go to a wrestling show that's going to be full capacity. So it makes sense in terms of trying to sell tickets, but I think you're right. I think building it a little bit more slowly over the course of a couple weeks could have worked a lot better.
And I don't think that AEW, I think their fan base is strong enough, and Double or Nothing is like an important enough event that they built up that even if you're not going to get a sellout crowd from people who live in Jacksonville, there is going to be a portion of people who are going to travel specifically for this show.
For sure.
And help sell it out.
Yeah, definitely.
And what do we got next?
Next up is Brit Baker, which, like, on a show full of highlights, this was right up there. I mean, this might have been the best. It was definitely the best non-wrestling segment. She was amazing. She is just so good at her job right now, and I'm so excited for her to get a title run. And this interview was great. And it was really good to see not one, but two women interview storytelling spots. The women have not gotten a ton of storytelling time on AEW, on Dynamite, I feel like. And this was a really cool, I mean, she's just killing it right now. I love it.
Yeah, and especially to use JR with the women is really exciting because he's had so many classic interviews with so many superstars. I was happy to see them giving the same sort of treatment to the women that they would the men on their roster. And Brit Baker definitely, I think they're doing a good job of establishing that 2021 Brit Baker is on a different level than she has been in AEW.
Definitely. And she is. I mean, that's shoot, you know, that's legit. This is the year of Brit Baker in the women's division, I feel like. And I really hope that she A, wins the title, and B, keeps it for the rest of 2021 at least, because she deserves it. She's been working her ass off. She's been getting better and better every week, not just in the ring, but even on the mic. And she was already good on the mic, and she's kind of on a whole nother level now. Yeah.
And what do we got next? We're almost at the main event, aren't we?
Thunder Rosa had a match with, who was it? With
Thunder Rosa and...
Does it say? It doesn't say who's
Thunder Rosa.
Nope.
Maybe she wants to forget it. Want to let everyone know that one of the biggest weekends of pro wrestling this year has come to Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida on Memorial Day weekend.
How could they not even write this girl's name on this clip of her? That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And they do this a lot with the women's matches. They won't promote which specific women's match we're going to see. They'll just say Thunder Rosa in action or Brit Baker in action.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I heard some people complaining that this was another short squash match after last week's having another short squash match. They gave more time to the women this week than they did last week, but they still didn't give them a ton of time. And they can still do more. And I think that's definitely valid. What I did like about it was, first of all, putting Thunder Rosa right after Brit Baker to sort of subconsciously nod toward, once Brit Baker, hypothetically wins the women's title, that this would likely be a feud to come in the future that would be great. It would be a great feud between these two. We've seen them already. They had the match of the year in AEW with the unsanctioned match, and Thunder Rosa's been killing it in general. She's also been great in 2021 and even going back to the end of 2020. So I like that about it. Thunder Rosa looks good. She's got like a bit of a mean streak in this match, which I really liked.
It's Thunder Rosa versus Jasmine Allure.
Here we go. Jasmine Allure getting some exposure on the podcast. Let's promote people on with our huge platform that we have. Thunder Rosa also debuted her new finisher in this match, which looked pretty cool, but it seemed like she was a little nervous with it, which is understandable because, seeing the finisher itself, it definitely looks like if she didn't hit it exactly right, it could really mess up somebody's neck or back or shoulders. So she kind of looked a little bit tender with it, but it still looked pretty cool. And I think once she gets a little bit more confident with it, it's going to look really good. But yeah, so it was a statement. It was a squash match. It was, it made Thunder Rosa look strong. It kind of connected her with Brit Baker, or kept her connected with Brit Baker a little bit. And I like that, but I do feel like you could make her look just as strong and still give them a little bit more time. So there is that.
Yeah, I'm all for squash matches, so I dug this. And yeah, I like this use of the women's roster tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And the next thing up was the Jade Cargill interview, which I actually don't remember a ton about.
It was that they were asking her, we saw you on Elevation getting propositioned by a wrestling attorney who secured MJF's top salary in AEW, Mark Sterling, who is one of the members of Matt Cardona and Brian Myers' podcast. He wanted to secure Jade Cargill as a client, and Jade basically said that I don't need anybody to represent me. I can represent myself because, and she cites, she is that bitch.
Right.
So because of her that bitch qualifications, she needs no help from anyone else.
Well, yeah, that's good. She was good. She was good in it. She's got pretty good charisma for somebody who's kind of just starting out. So, yeah, good spot for her. Good feature. She did well, and yeah,
we'll see how this plays out with her. It would be interesting if they did some sort of swerve where, we think that Brit has the belt and that Brit's going to be new champion forever. And then Jade just, eats her and takes the belt. That would be pretty nuts.
That would be a crazy swerve. I don't know if Jade's on that level yet, but that would be a pretty crazy swerve.
Yeah. And what do we have next?
Last but not least, Miro and Darby Allin. And so I initially, right after Dynamite was over with, I was of the opinion that the match of the night was Young Bucks versus SCU. And after thinking about it a little bit more, I think this might have been the match of the night. And I think Steven will definitely agree with me on that. The Bucks and SCU is right there with it. But this match, the story that it told, the tension and drama that it gave, the way it made both guys look so good. I think this was the match of the night and probably will be a top 10 match of the year when all is said and done.
Well, I like that they started out with having sort of this little package of Darby Allin driving around, as we've seen him before on the show, driving around and thinking and sort of being like, I've had 9 lives and I've had 9 matches, and I don't intend to lose this 10th match tonight. So I thought that was a great way to, really make us in our minds feel like, okay, maybe Darby can beat Miro.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff. I think, it's one of those cases where we all kind of knew that Miro was going to win this match, especially after Darby got thrown down the stairs and hurt last week. They gave him so many outs that it seemed like, if Miro didn't win this match, it totally would take his legs out from under him. So they did a lot of work trying to make us believe that Darby had any chance of winning this match. And by the time it was over, I was fully believing that at the very least they would run out of time, which is a testament to the work that they did. I was really tense. I was like scared almost that Miro wouldn't end up winning the match, because I just felt like that was not going to do him any favors. And they, ultimately they did do the right thing, and they did it in a way that, that was so dramatic and really had me believing that the thing that I knew was going to happen wasn't going to happen. And Darby looked so good in doing this. He looked, he did everything in his power to, to get in believable offense and to make himself look so good and so believable as somebody who could go toe-to-toe with Miro. And Miro, of course, looks monstrous, especially at the beginning, just ragdolling Darby. And toward the end of the match, he had that one gut-wrench suplex that was maybe the best gut-wrench suplex I've ever seen. Like, he lifted him over his head with one arm and just slammed him down. This is a really good fucking match. It was great.
Yeah, everything about the presentation to this I really loved. Darby has had a new paint job, which looked very cool. Miro already comes out with TNT champion gear on, just to show how arrogant he is, that he feels he's going to win this. Miro just destroying Darby outside of the ring as long as possible, and really just keeping this an unfair fight. I thought was, really smart and really well calculated. The only part of this match that ever, felt comedic was when Paige and Sky got involved, and then the Dark Order runs out to help Sting from getting beat up by Paige and Sky. That was the only moment where, there was like really levity in this match. With the Dark Order running through and, just being dorks like they are.
Yeah.
But, that served the story of the match overall. Even this, I forgot about this. I forgot that the match hadn't even started.
Right.
And Darby had already gotten just destroyed. So that was awesome. It was really a fantastic match, and it has to be added to, if they're working on a DVD or a Blu-ray for the top TNT title matches, this has got to go up there with the dog collar match and with a few others.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure I can think of a better TNT title match that I've seen. The dog collar was great. The Darby had a good one with Cage earlier this year. But this was just so good. And not only was the match amazing, but after the match, we got a couple things that are very, very exciting. first of all, at the end of Dynamite, we got a moment where Lance Archer came out to confront Miro and sort of jump right into a feud between Miro and the Murder Hawk Monster, which is going to be so good, and I cannot wait. And and also, like, you know, I was talking to a friend and he was super excited about them facing off at Double or Nothing, but I don't think, you know, first of all, Double or Nothing is already stacked, and second of all, I don't think the TNT title gets defended on the pay-per-views. Like, the whole point of the TNT title is it's the title that gets defended on TNT. I think exclusively. I don't remember ever seeing a TNT title match on a pay-per-view. I think they always use the TNT champion in other ways on the pay-per-views. So I'm really excited for the blow off to Miro and Lance Archer, but we also got a really great promo from Darby Allin at the end of after Dynamite went off the air, where he basically said, you know, he talked about how much the TNT title means to him, and he talked about how people keep saying, when are you going to go for the world title? And he said, I don't need the world title. I want the TNT title, which a lot of really cynical people took that as, oh, he's fine with mediocrity. He's fine with a mid-card belt, which is ridiculous. No, they're trying to elevate this title. They're trying to tell you, you know, top guys want this title. You know, it's not just all about the world title. This isn't just a mediocre title. It means something to all these guys. And I think that's really awesome. And I'm really excited to see Darby Allin hopefully have a long road ahead to regaining the TNT title. And that's, I think, that's going to be a great story for him that I hope will actually last throughout the rest of 2021 and into 2022. Because I'd love to see him go on a really long journey to get that title back. So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I'm excited that Miro's the new TNT champion. It's a little weird that that as of right now, Miro's champion, the Bucks are champion, Kenny Omega's champion, and Hikaru Shida are champions. And Hikaru Shida is the only face champion that we have right now. Everyone else is pretty heelish. So it'll be interesting how things keep on shaking out.
Yeah.
And what sort of color we get going forward out of Miro.
Especially like the only one of those that we can imagine losing their title anytime soon, and probably will lose their title, is Shida. And she's probably going to lose it to another heel. So it seems like after Double or Nothing, we're going to have all heel champions. So that'll be really interesting to see where they go with that. You know, who will be the next to lose their title? Who will be the next babyface champion? And how long will it be before we have another babyface champion?
That worries me. If they have all heel champions, like there's already so many things on AEW where they sort of like repeat themselves, or, you know, do sort of the same things week to week in different segments, that I feel like if all of the champions are heels, that makes me feel like those type of you know, redundancies might become more prevalent. That's disconcerting.
It's all heel wrestling. It's good.
Yeah, all heel elite wrestling. I love Miro as a champion. I checked out his Instagram when he went live after this Dynamite, and he was so happy to be the new TNT champion. He was thanking God for making him a monster who was put on this earth to destroy people. And I hope he brings that type of heelish microphone work onto Dynamite as the champion.
Yeah. He I think, you know, like everything about this makes so much sense. Just like having him coming up and finally establishing himself, and it immediately gives a lot of prestige to the TNT title. Even more so, I think, than like when Brody won it. And, you know, R.I.P. Brody, rest in peace. You know, Brody brought a lot of prestige, but Miro is probably a bigger star than even Brody Lee was at the time that he won it. And so I think it really elevates the TNT title. And I think the longer he has it, the more people with that level of prestige that come after it, I think will give a lot of prestige to this title, which it needs right now. Which is great.
And I'm curious to see if Kip Sabian's gonna be put into this TNT title picture now.
I'm wondering what happens with Miro and Kip Sabian now, because the last we saw, Miro said he forgives him. So are they like back to being friends? Are they, you know, gonna feud coming soon? It's, you know, and I'm glad that they're keeping Kip Sabian off TV after what happened also, the way that they did not with Chris Jericho for whatever reason. But I think, you know, keeping him off TV puts over the beatdown that he got. And I think also it'll be really, it builds the sort of suspense about like where do they stand now, you know?
Cut to Kip Sabian interrupts Miro next week and gives him a video game bath in the middle of the ring. Take this Tetris cartridge. Take this Pac-Man cartridge.
Throws Legos at him.
Also, it looks like we're gonna possibly see Darby and Sting versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. That seems to be where they're gonna turn their storylines towards. And will that eventually mean that Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky are going to also be contending with Miro? And do they still want the TNT title?
I'm not sure they ever did, really. I think their focus, you know, I mean, it's been a little bit confusing at times, but it seems like their main focus is Sting and kind of taking Sting out. So we'll see where that goes, because I think you're right. I think that's kind of what's next for Darby and for Sting. So we'll see. I think eventually shuffling Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky into the tag title picture would be a good thing. But that's probably a little bit further down the line.
I would like to see Page and Sky cause more havoc on the show. Like, if they're going to be this chaotic element who's trying to get prestige and press for themselves, like, I hope they lean into it more and start affecting storylines where they wouldn't necessarily, you know, not in like not like a totally random way, but I just want to see them, you know, make the most out of every opportunity to capitalize, because they seem like they're two guys who they're trying to break to the next level.
Right. Yeah, I would also, you know, we probably won't get anything like this, but I'd love to know what Scorpio thinks of SCU breaking up. Like, throw him in there just a little bit to kind of get some sense of closure, since he hasn't been seen with them in a really long time.
Yeah, and it would also, I would be interested to hear what he would say on the mic, in that Scorpio Sky was a former tag champion with SCU. So the fact that SCU is dissolving, that obviously affects him and his legacy as a former tag champion. You know, how can he make that to his advantage?
Yeah, and his friends are going through a rough time right now. They just had to break up. So, like, does he have an opinion about that? Is he talking to them? Is he not talking to them? Like, you know, we got a little bit of a drop in with Christopher Daniels on BTE, but other than that, we don't really know the state of their relationship and what, if anything, Scorpio Sky feels about them breaking up.
It would be crazy if Scorpio Sky, you know, started interfering in whatever Frankie Kazarian and Chris Daniels do next. You know what I mean? If he holds a grudge, you know, that maybe they held him back.
Yeah. It would. I mean, how cool would it have been if SCU faced Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky and lost to them to break them up? That would have been pretty cool.
That would have been pretty crazy. Yeah, that would have been pretty crazy. I would have liked that storyline.
Yeah, right.
Why aren't you texting with Tony Khan like everyone else? God.
I should write for a wrestling show. Like, I think I'd be really good at it. I think I could book some good stuff.
If only. Did you see Dark Side of the Ring this week?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Okay. It was the Nick Gage episode, and John Moxley is in it for a lot of the episode, talking about Nick Gage.
Right. Yeah. I saw some of the clips of, like, what did he do? He, like, you know,
he robbed the bank.
Oh yeah.
He robs a bank, and John Moxley has this, like, amazing moment where he's like, when Nick Gage comes to the ring, he puts a bandana over his face like a train robber. And yet when he robs a bank, he doesn't wear anything over his face at all.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then, like, Nick Gage, like, he knows that Nick Gage knows that everyone knows that he robbed this bank. So he's like, well, if I'm going to go to jail, I might as well ball out for a while. So he goes to Atlantic City for a week and spends a bunch of money before he turns himself in.
That's what's up. That's how you do it.
It was a good episode. The highlight of the episode is definitely Nick Gage's girlfriend or wife, who's like his high school sweetheart and has been with him since high school. And she is just so totally devoted to this very questionable human being in both, very romantic and both, disturbing sense.
Right.
So I recommend everyone check out Dark Side of the Ring on Vice for some more good wrestling content.
Yeah, it's on Hulu too, right?
I don't know. I haven't seen it on Hulu. So if that's how you watch it, maybe.
I was watching the ones from before. I think it gets posted on Hulu, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Any other final thoughts to close out the week?
No, I think that about does it for me.
Thank you very much for listening to this week's Vundacast. You can find us on Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or on YouTube under Vundacast Productions. I have been your host, Steven.
I have been your non-binary world champion, D-Rock.
And remember, kids, if you are going to break up with your tag partner of 20 years, why don't you ask your boss for 30 more seconds of screen time? Okay? Especially when they're your best friends. Like,
right.
The Young Bucks are supposedly so close with Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, and yet they can't get them better TV time spots. Come on.
Yeah, seriously. Come
That's
on,
not
guys.
friendship. Suck it, Bucks. Hail Vunda. Hail Vunda.
Vundacast? Give it
Yeah.
up for Vundacast, man. What an adorable name.
You're listening to the Vundacast.
What's up, everybody? This is Jason David Frank, Green Ranger. You're listening to Vundacast.
Subscribe to the Vundacast.